Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Hello, Rise Up Nation. This is your host, Tad Fulford, for Rise Up in Real Estate. And I want to have a frank discussion with you today about what my view is of the 2023 market. All coaches, all real estate experts, quote unquote, have made their declarations on what 2023 is going to be like. And I've had a lot of people ask me what my thoughts are. And I've read a ton. I've listened to a ton. I have tried to, because you guys know we had a baby about 3 weeks ago, I've tried to be as in touch as possible with what people are thinking about 2023. And so as, even though I only maybe have a small following, or Rise Up Nation is not millions of people wide, I feel a responsibility to come to you and share with you what my view is of this upcoming market. And I get my information from a lot of different sources because it's not just my opinion. I'm trying to gather things from all places. So the first thing I want to share with you about this upcoming market, like what are my thoughts? What do I think is going to happen? Now, I think it's very crystal clear that there is a shift. That word has been being used for about 6 months. We certainly have shifted away in most areas of the country. We are in coastal South Carolina, where I'm coming to you from today, the coastal part of South Carolina in the United States. We have seen a shift. We have certainly gone away from the days of every single property having multiple offers, us being very confident to call it a seller's market, buyers being very frustrated, maybe even buying things that they wouldn't normally buy. That kind of thing happened really since COVID up until probably 8 or 9 months ago. That was the norm. We call that, some of you have only been in the market since that time, and that is what you think is a normal market. But that market has certainly shifted. I think that's the best word that I've heard. The interest rates have changed. There's some consumer uncertainty with the, when you watch the news and you hear things about inflation, and you hear things about the economy slowing, and as elections come and go, things change with consumer confidence. So there certainly has been a shift. Now, going into 2023, what's going to happen? I think if I had to make a list of things that were probably agreed upon by most experts, I think most experts believe that number of transactions will go down in 2023, meaning less property will sell. I mean, in the real estate space, this podcast is labeled Rise Up in Real Estate. So I'm talking about real estate transactions. The number of real estate transactions in each market is said to probably go down 10, 15, maybe 20% even in some arguments. And of course, real estate's local. So if you are lucky enough to live in a second home or tourist attraction market like we do, where we have the ocean, we have bodies of water that draw people, we have retirees looking to come here, you will be insulated from that change somewhat. But know that most experts are saying in 2023, the number of transactions will go down. Price will probably stabilize, most are saying. With that decrease in number of units, Most experts are also saying that there will be a decrease in the number of people in real estate that hold a license. They're saying that the National Association of Realtors, which is at an all-time high right now or was at the end of 2022 for number of members, believe that number will also go down. Ironically, if that number goes down in proportion to the way transactions decrease, I want those of you that are going to stay in this market realize that you will probably recognize the same business that you did last year and years past. Even if transactions go down and numbers of agents go down, someone's got to absorb their business, and that hopefully would be you. Again, also, most experts are saying that single family investment properties are still strong. Multifamily is stabilizing. Commercial, I heard a report from a commercial expert a few days ago. Commercial inventory in our marketplace has gone down quite a bit. So they are experiencing, usually lag about a year or two behind the residential trends. So right now they're experiencing what residential experienced a few years ago, where there's really a reduction of inventory and an increase in price. I think most experts are saying consumer confidence is a little bit shaky, just because anytime there is a shift, people stand back sometimes and they step back and they ask what is going on. Here we are in January. It's also very odd when a shift happens at the beginning of a year or at the end of a year, when typically markets are slower anyway because of holidays and changing over the year and school trends, school cycles and such like that. When a shift happens in the midst of that, it seems like a greater shift. So we are experiencing a little bit of that as well. So I think that going forward with higher rates, with consumer confidence being wobbly, with the things that I've mentioned already that are most experts are saying are definitely going to happen, I think it's obvious that the frenzy that we experienced for the last 24 months, maybe even 36 months, is gone for the time being. Now, I heard one of my favorite coaches, and I don't subscribe to his coaching. I know some of my colleagues do, and I'm proud of them for that. I have a different coach, but this coach I really appreciate, respect, and listen to his teachings. He's a great podcast and great stuff that he puts out. He's a friend of RE/MAX, which is a great thing for us and our brand. Jared James said just a few days ago on the podcast that I listened to today that there is no such thing as a good market or a bad market. Now, I love this perspective. He said, the reality of it is it's the market that you're in. It's not bad or good. It's just what it is, right? And I think that's a good perspective going forward. If we call 2020, 2021, 2022 a good real estate market, we might be prone to call the one coming up a bad one. My encouragement to you would be to just call it the current one. And we should have called the past ones the current one. Because the reality of it is that things change. All the markets have challenges. All the markets have positive things. Let's take 2020 or 2021, for example. It was very positive for sellers, but extremely frustrating for buyers and buyers' agents. And it just, was a good thing for some people. It was great for listing agents. It was frustrating for buyers agents. This upcoming market may be the reverse. It may be very good for buyers agents and different and harder for a seller agent. So if I could encourage you one thing, there's no good or bad market. It's just the market that you were in. So how do you find out as you go forward, or as you are analyzing what to expect? How do you gather your information? How do you make declarations or decisions? How do you set your psyche, if I could say it that way? In my momentum teaching, we talk about getting our mind on the right channel, where we put our head in the right place. And I think psychology is an interesting thing to address when you're talking about markets and talking about performance in markets. If you get your head right with things like Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, and you decide that you're going to be consistent and set your own pace, you can dictate the market, more than it dictating you. And so I wanted to ask you today to ponder, how do you do that? Where are you getting your information? Where are you gathering your psyche for how you view things in 2023? I would encourage you to do a few things. And these are things that I do on a regular basis. And by the way, I'm not just speaking as a podcast host. I've been in real estate for 22 years now, was a very successful salesperson for a developer, and then for a couple of different brands. I ran a very successful team, sold a lot of real estate. I mean, we sold hundreds of transactions in each year on our team. But when we got into management and leadership of a brokerage, I realized that my time and energy and my real happiness was in helping people build businesses. So I got out of selling. So I want you to know that this comes from experience, these things that I'm going to be telling you, because I sold real estate and had very good years in 2007, 2008, and 2009. And historically, if you look back at those years, those are called the dark ages, really. I mean, it was called the Great Recession. There were some artificial things that made real estate very, very difficult. And yet I thrived and we thrived. And here's the way that you can do it. I think it's important as you set your psyche that, as I talk about this quite a bit, you need to get by yourself and get quiet and figure out how to navigate. I think you need to be careful and you need to be purposeful about where you are getting your information from, and make sure it's information, not opinion. Like today, I'm giving you my outlook, my opinion. Jared James has done that. Tom Ferry has done that. Brian Buffini has done that. All of these opinions. But I would encourage you, along with these opinions, which are all great things to challenge, I want you to gather your information from information, like facts, like what is actually happening. I think if we look back at December of this coming year, we'll look back and say, gosh, there were a lot of real estate transactions. How many of those did I get, right? You will see that there will be lots and lots of property bought and sold, as there always has been. There are people still going to retire, people still going to relocate with their jobs, people still going to downsize and upsize, foreclose, invest. All those things are going to happen in 2023. What you need to be careful of is that you're gathering your information from facts. And more often than not, you also should gather your information from industry leaders. I would challenge you, how much do you listen to someone like a Seth Godin or Napoleon Hill or Brian Buffini or Darren Hardy or Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Jared James, all of these, coaches with a tenure, coaches and experts, Steve Murray, Keeping Current Matters with Steve Harney, all these things, these groups, even brand ambassadors, Nick Bailey, the list could go on and on. You need to be listening to people who are sitting at the table and gathering information from the top. Be careful forming your opinions talking to your peers. Normally, when you sit around and talk to your peers, it could become more negative. And do you want to get leadership and guidance and direction from people that are on the same level as you, if I can say it that way, like other salespeople? This is why I think it's a huge benefit. Some of the people that I respect the most in this industry have coaches. Some of them have 2, 3, or 4 coaches that lead them in different areas of their life. You need to have someone who is more experienced, somewhere in a mentor position that helps you formulate your view of the marketplace. It needs to be realistic. I once heard Simon Sinek talk about the word optimism. And optimism is not just a Pollyanna view that everything's going to be great. It's just an attitude that no matter what, we're going to make it great, right? It's not everything is great. It's I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to respond in a way that I'm going to make it great. I'm going to have a great outlook. So I think you have to be setting your opinions and your views on what is happening in 2023 from people beyond you.
you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at
843-491-6990. And also, I should challenge that something as a side note. Be careful forming your opinions watching the news. Just remember that, and I don't want to get political. I don't want to get conspiracy theory-ish, but just remember that each news channel, I guess just like each brand, maybe even each person, maybe even each coach, but especially the media has an agenda. Used to be a hidden agenda, but now it's not hidden anymore. And you just have to be careful when you allow someone that sits behind a news desk that's not in your industry to make decisions for you and lead you in a way to feel about the industry that you are in. I think this year you need to stand up and be the expert. You need to be the pro, as Jared James would say. You need to say to yourself, I'm in this business and I am going to gather the information from reputable sources and I'm going to work my magic within this market. And if you can keep the mindset that it's not a bad market or a good market, it's just the market, you just make the money, do the transactions, and find out how you can succeed in that market. Another thing I want to encourage you to do is don't forget. I think this might be the most important thing I say, and this is the thing that we are talking about most at our companies right now. Don't forget to talk to the end user. Don't forget to have conversations on a very regular basis with the consumer. We often forget that that's what we're in this business for anyway, is the public. Don't forget to find out how the public that you are in touch with, how they feel. When COVID happened, all the coaches came out. We all sat with bated breath and were waiting to see how the coaches would encourage us to act. And now that COVID was a thing and people were being told that their industry was not even a necessity, it wasn't even necessary, and it might not, attorneys' offices might not be open. We were waiting to see what the coaches had to say. And the first thing almost all the coaches said was, pick up the phone, call the consumer, and ask them, how do you feel in this market? I think right now I think every day this is true, but in this market that we're heading into, in this shifting market that might lead to some uncertainty for the consumer, for the seller and the buyer, you need to take responsibility for your clients and your customers and your database, and you need to have some phone conversations about how they are feeling. And there's a lot of value in doing that. When you ask them how the market makes them feel, there's a few things that'll happen. Number one, you will create more of a connection with that person. And I'm talking conversations. I'm an advocate for picking up the phone and calling. You can do all this in email or in reels or stories or whatever. But I think the most valuable, or text even, the most valuable way to do it is let's hear their voices. Let's get face to face and have some coffee, as we talked about. Or call them on the phone at least and say, hey, how is it making you feel? And when they give you the answer and you do this 10, 12, 15, 100 times, you can start formulating a pattern. You can see if there's a consistent feeling amongst the consumer that you have been missing. Now you have a test group. You have a group of people that are giving you data that you can start making moves from. And what kind of moves can you make? Well, you need to put out a bunch of content. You need to be looked at as an expert. And I won't get on my soapbox about video. I won't get up my soapbox about blogging or artificial intelligence, this chat stuff that's working very well right now and all of that. But what I will say is, as you start formulating and gathering this data from your consumers about how they are feeling, now you have topics that you can address in video. and in texts and in long form email and all of that. You can put that stuff together now that you're gathering the data. But hey, guess what? If you just sit back and listen to the news and you just read a few articles and you listen to your peers, you might be missing what's actually happening. Who knows? There might be people out there that are saying, I'm really afraid of foreclosure. And we've been hearing every day that home equity is the highest that it's ever been. But what if a few of your consumers, a few of your people that you deal with on a regular basis that trust you, what if they don't have equity? And what if they're nervous about foreclosures and you're not addressing that? So I think that's something that you need to do is really start digging down deep and contacting your folks and saying, hey, how's it going? And now, if this is something that you haven't done, you haven't been very good about staying in touch with your database, they're going to think it's weird that you're calling them. So my encouragement would be to just fall on the sword and say, hey, I haven't done a great job with you over the years, but I am changing the way that I'm doing things. This shifting market has made me aware of the fact that I need to be having more conversations. And I'm just wondering if you'd be open to having coffee with me, or can we just chat on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes? And I just want to ask you a few questions and remember, keep in mind that their answer is not right or wrong. Actually, their answer is right always, because it's how they feel. I find myself having this discussion with my wife on a regular basis when she's down about something or I'm down about something. It's not right or wrong. It is reality. The feeling is real, and the way that your consumer feels is real. So gather information from reputable sources, but don't forget to pick up the phone and call your consumer. Let's flip this a minute. Imagine if your coach or your broker or your mentor, the owner of your real estate company or your boss, quote unquote, your broker in charge, imagine if they called you and just said, hey, I know this shifting market is a little bit strange and might cause a little uncertainty. I just wanted to call and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Because I had someone ask me not too long ago, how's it going? And I said to them, you know what? I haven't heard a lot of complaining amongst agents. I haven't heard much about how things are going. So I started making phone calls to gather that information. Because once you get real information, now you can use it to make real progress. Now you can start meeting real needs. And here's the interesting thing. As you focus on those things, it takes away the worry about how's the market. It takes away the worry, the fear that is out there about what is going to happen in 2023. You know why? It's always been proven that when you are worried about something or when you are concerned about an issue, that if you would take your focus off of yourself and put it on other people, and in this case, I'm talking about your clients and customers and database, if you would place it onto them, now you are going to be focused on meeting their needs and forget about your unmet needs. It's the same way in relationships. Whenever there's a relationship with an imbalance, if it happens with my wife, when I'm worried about what I'm getting out of the relationship, if I sit around and think about that and talk about that and woe is me about that, then I'm not going to make any progress. But if I just simply focus on her needs, it takes the attention off myself. And I think that will happen in this market, in any market, if you will just have the courage to do that. So this is my outlook on 2023. I'm not just a Pollyanna, uneducated, let's just do this kind of a guy. I am informed. I am not always right, but I do gather a lot of information, and I talk to a lot of professionals in our industry. My outlook for this year is those that are in touch with humans and those that work hard and pay attention, you will have great years. There will be people at the end of the year that will have incredible years, but you have to stay focused on what people want and need. And the touches that you're doing with your database, this is a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but you've got to ramp that up. It cannot just be an automatic 5 times a year email that looks like 5 other people are sending it through some service that doesn't have any personal touch. People now, especially with the onset of artificial intelligence and the way we can communicate with people without even knowing who they are, you have to ramp up your game with communication. But what is better than a phone call to a person that you know in your sphere, your customers, clients, or database, a regular phone call that says, hey, how are you feeling in this market? And notice, I didn't say anything about what do you need from me. That's another great question. Do you need anything? But if you call them and say buy or sell, that's not going to work. Do what always works. Find out what they need and then meet that need. So what's my outlook for 2023? My outlook for 2023 is those that work hard, those that care, those that are willing to do the extra things to connect with people are going to win. Get yourself a coach. Oh, and I should say this in closing. I'm going to be putting out a ton of content. Now, you might not like me. You might not like the way I talk. You might not like that I'm an optimist, that I talk fast, that I'm, I don't know, emotional and a cheerleader, rah-rah. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world. But I want you to know I'm going to be pumping out content through our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, Rise Up in Real Estate. I'm going to be putting a lot of content on my personal page on Facebook, so find me there. I'm also going to be putting some incredible industry leaders. I've had 2 people in the past week reach out to me from other markets and say, I want to be on your podcast. And so right here at Rise Up in Real Estate, I'm going to put these leaders, these experts, man, these people that have built huge teams and had huge impacts and are doing it right now. I'm going to have them on the podcast telling you. So one thing you should do is plug into this information. I'm doing this for you, not for me only. I want you to gain information. So you should plug in and listen to these things and pay attention to these resources. Follow us, plug in and like and comment and rate. And this will only get better. The more participation, the better it gets. If you would like to be a guest, if you want to share your opinion, we're going to have some call-in shows, and I hope you will. I don't care if I know you yet or not. I want to hear your opinion, because together we will rise up more often. We will rise up and be better, and we'll go further. So in 2023, let's get ours. Let's focus on not what's best for us, but what's best for the consumer, and see what happens. In my opinion, it will cause you to rise up. Thanks, Rise Up Nation. It's been great talking to you today, and I look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.